my. Welcome to our most haunting of episodes of the F.Reality Podcast. As you may have noticed, Mike is undead. So in this episode, 112, this episode is going to be dedicated to our lurkers. You don't say anything, but just like Santa, we feel your presence. So today, I will be hosting the podcast. My name is Zim. This is going to be a special episode of the F.Reality Podcast. So let me remind you, if you don't already know, you can watch us live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can go log into the virtual spaces and catch us in VR in big screen TV. And at what times? 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, if there still is a UK next week, and 12 Central US. The audio version is available also on iTunes, Anchor, and Spotify. And if you have any questions during the show, please inject them into the chat, like marshmallows into a hot pumpkin-spiced latte. All right, without further ado, let's sound off. Who is the F.Reality crew? Boo-hoo-hoo. Who is you? If you find a shirtless man on the streets of Belgium on a moonlit night, howling in echoing despair, you know who that's gonna be. Boris Johnson. But the other shirtless beast howling, that'll be Rowdy guy. Hey Rowdy, how was your week?
My week was alright, Sim. I have to say, like, Mike is already undead, but it looks like you're gonna be undead pretty soon too.
Had a bit of damage.
I've been all right. I've been hard at work as well. But yeah, I'm excited for this show. You know, it's going to be something different. You know, it's not going to be with Mike, but we have another undead host. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to it.
Did you just call Mike undead?
Yeah, sometimes he is. You know,
yeah,
after a 2-hour show, he's usually undead.
He's not looking too lively. So he's off sorting himself on a few matters. So that was our Rowdy guy, the shirtless howling beast. And little did you know, but after Dr. Frankenstein bailed on that monster he created, another ghastly creature he made, who also loves experiments of his own. Like a ghoulish Dutch cheese, he's always oozing something. And that's our Nathie.
It's alive! It's alive!
A ghoulish Dutch cheese. How does that smell?
No, I don't know. Smells apparently like me, right? But yeah, I'm totally ready for this spooky episode. It's gonna be so terrifying and horrible, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, and I've already been given a nickname, Zimby, which I have to say, thank you, chat. Whoever came up with that is amazing. So I will be Zimby. So I am. Who am I? My name is ZimTalk5, and I'm back from the dead. Not really the way you'd hoped, but I'm here, covering for Mike as the host of the F.Reality Podcast today. And in our special episode today, we will be covering a few different interesting tasty bites. Nathie's going to tell us what it's like to play GTA 5 in VR. Rowdy will ask and answer, for how much longer will real reality be necessary? And I'll dive into a flavor of reality gaming that I hadn't considered before, called remote reality. All right, well, before we do that, I wonder, oh good dear doctor, what have you been playing at, Mr. Rowdy?
I have been playing a few games. Not all that I can mention already, or maybe I can mention it, I don't know. But I've played Panther VR. I think we talked about that one last week as well. I just now released my video on it as well. I've played it again because I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into it, dive into the mechanics a little bit. And I have to say it's a solid title already. Like the way that it plays, the way that it feels like a solid title. I would like to see what else they are going to bring to it, because they have like a lot of different kind of mechanics. So the concept of this is, like we highlighted last time, it's like a stealth game, and something that we haven't seen a lot in VR, but as of recently there appears to be more and more of these kind of VR games that are popping up. We have Budget Cuts that is coming back with Budget Cuts 2. really looking forward to that one. We have Espire 1, which is a really solid game as well. And there are some rumors about like Splinter Cell coming to VR as well, which I think is would be great to see something like that appear on as well. So there's quite a few stealth games that are coming out, and I think that Panther VR can, hold itself into that line as well. It's very artistically interesting. I think it's a great concept. I would like to see some more variation maybe from the enemies and stuff like that, but of course the thing that I played is a pre-alpha, but it felt just very, very solid. And I always like it when developers do that, when they bring out a demo, instead of trying to fit everything in there, just like introduce a few of the interesting concepts, keep it simple, and prove your concept. And I think that they've really succeeded at that.
Well, I can tell you that when you said Splinter Cell, I just imagined the Splinter Cell release trailer, just a completely pitch black background and just 3 little lights flicking on in the dark.
That would be a great trailer. And like a headset that he puts on.
but seriously though, like as I said last time, it's so important to, if you do have a demo, that it's a good demo, because we have seen a different one. I think it was the game that Zim mentioned before, the pirate title, Leon.
The Leon Legends. The Leon Legends.
Exactly, and they also had a demo for people to try, but that one didn't show its full potential, and then it's hard for people to check it out and say like, okay, this is why you should back this project. So in case of Panther VR, they knew what they had in store and what mechanics they could sell to the audience out there. So yeah.
Does their Kickstarter allow you access to the pre-alpha or beta build?
I don't think so.
Because I've always recommended. I think devs are quite nervous about that, but I actually think with a Kickstarter, giving a tiers level of access to say, hey, check out our alpha, we'll give you a build. I think that's really smart, because for me, if I was sitting there on Kickstarter going, oh yeah, it looks pretty, but I want to see what the grassroots implementation of your game is. So, and actually there's a bit of news on that. I don't know if you heard, but the Leon Legends, they actually wrote me there midweek. They've canceled and refunded on the Kickstarter because it wasn't going as well for them. Yeah. Which is hard, because I think they did very good work for a 2-person team. They're going to find another way, I suppose, to fund that development. But yeah, it's hard to hear that. Now, back to Rowdy Panther. Are there any Panthers in it?
You are the Panther. You're an agent of Panther. Like, and you walk around like a panther. No. That'd be awesome, though.
You could do that. You should play it that way.
I should have done that in my video. that would have probably gone on more views. Like,
I know the ladies would like it, Rowdy. You should so do a Panther video too now. Yeah. All right.
I'll do that.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good. So, what about over to you, Nathie? What have you been up to?
Yeah. So first of all, in the chat, someone said like, "What is Nathie dressed like?" I'm a balloonicorn from Team Fortress.
Is that Team Fortress? Jesus, that's an era of Team Fortress that I've never seen.
Yes. So maybe if I stand up, you can see it better.
Yeah, do. Give us the whole turnaround. Yeah.
I thought that was the outfit from VR Unicorns.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. That's also like it's a mix of things. But if you hate on my outfit, I might use my needle today. So.
In the chat, they're calling you a Nathie-corn.
A Nathie-corn. I am a Nathie-corn. I'm fabulous and terrifying if I have to. But also in the chat, people have been playing some games. Of course, we have Jamie, who played Thrill of the Fight on the Quest. Yes, that's a good workout. Then we have Human 001. Yes, the first human ever, who played Echo VR. PD played. This one is scary. Are you ready? The Exorcist on Quest in a haunted cellar. Got touched on the knee and had childish whispers in my ear. Ooh, okay. Man, we're going deeper. Watto UK played Asgard's Wrath, No Man's Sky. He's still into No Man's Sky. He's a diehard. Borderlands 2 and ran around Los Santos, causing havoc in GTA 5. Then Serp, NTA 1276. He dove into Skyrim VR. And then we have Dave the Psycho. He played Death Horizon with the new locomotion, and that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. About Death Horizon, because I jumped in. I did play it on the Oculus Go before. As you guys may know, it's an old one. It came out in, I think, 2017 on the Gear VR, and also I think, could you play it on a cardboard as well? I'm not completely sure. No, it was Daydream. It was a Daydream headset, but it was all like mobile back then in Death Horizon. But now you can enjoy it on the Quest as well. So it's a great fit, of course, a part that makes sense. And so a couple of weeks ago it launched, but then it didn't have locomotion, walking locomotion. So running around with the thumbstick, you could only teleport. And it's fine that teleportation is in there, because every option is welcome, because not everyone likes to serve in their room, as it always feels like. That's how I describe walking locomotion. But now there's an update, so you can teleport or you can walk around, and that was the moment I felt like I had to try it out. So Death Horizon Reloaded, as it's called, is a typical zombie shooter. Key cards that you need to use to open doors, do some parkouring, shoot some zombies, find more key cards, get some extra weapons, etc., etc. And that's kind of what it is. So if you just like that, classic feeling of, hey, I'm just gonna jump in there and I'm gonna find all these epic guns to shoot zombies with, then that's the game for you. The story is kind of odd, okay-ish, I would say. But as I said, it's an old game from 2017, and it's fun. It's fun because I checked out the reviews and I was like, why is this so highly rated on the Oculus Store? Because in my case, I played so many zombie shooters that this didn't feel that exciting to me. But then I was like, well, if this is your first or second zombie shooter, or you're just a fan of zombies and shooters anyway, then I don't think you ever get bored of it. Where for me, I'm really looking for the next step in that case,
Bored of zombies? Couldn't.
Yeah, well, being maybe smarter like you, that can actually talk to me and interact, or something more where it's not just a key card all the time and finding the next door. And I wanna get challenged a bit more.
Gotta be honest, Nathie, I'm just in it for your brains.
Oh, okay. No. So you think I have brains? That's positive. Thank you.
I'm actually curious, guys. What do you prefer? Like when you've got a game that's an older game, like let's say 2015, 2016 era, yeah, and that game can re-release and is being released like on different consoles over time. Every 6 months they're releasing on a new platform. Do you want that to be the same game just launched again to kind of be fair to all the platforms, or do you want it to be something different? Like, would you want it to be different on different platforms, or does that generate like a pressure pocket for you where you're like, nah, that's just not right,
I usually, if we're talking about parts, I kind of expect the same experience, to be honest with you. Although when I play it, I'm like, well, it would have been nice if this would be in there too, or if they added that. Yeah. And the problem usually with that is like, me as the consumer wants a lot, but is the budget there? And that's like a part is let's say also expensive in a way, but cheaper than having to add all kinds of new stuff to it. But yeah, no, I usually when I play a part, I'm like, oh, but this could have been great too. I think the only title that I recently played that kind of does that is Drop Dead, where Drop Dead,
yes,
I think it has an extra name to it as well, just like Horizon. It's Dual Strike, yeah.
Yeah, the second.
You can shoot with two weapons at the same time, as far as I know.
So Drop Dead Dual Strike is like a pivot on the original game, right? It's not like a completely new story arc.
No. It's the same story, but Dual Strike, I think, as far as I know, refers to being able to use two weapons at the same time.
I think it's also co-op. I think that's why, right?
No, it was already co-op.
It was already co-op before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like they added some weapons to it that you can combine with another one. So in that case, they kind of added something new. I know this is still simple, but it's at least something new. But I think they only do that for people that already played it on a different platform. If you played Death Horizon on the Go and you play it on the Quest now, you're going to get the same kind of thing. Of course, you have positional tracking and room scale, but content-wise, it's the same. So I think they purely do that in some games to attract people that already own the game and they want them to buy it again.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, it also depends, of course, on the mechanics. I think, like for example, like we're gonna talk about Borderlands anyway later on, but like we don't have something like the aim controller really in on the PC. We have like the Pro 2, we have like other things, but we don't have an aim controller, and that is sometimes in PlayStation VR games that is integrated into the core mechanic, which adds a lot to it. For example, Farpoint, I don't think how I would play that game without the aim controller, because it's such a core thing of that. You could probably do it, you could probably do it, but it wouldn't be the same thing. And I think that's also something that you need to keep in mind when like games are going from platform to platform, that can cause an issue.
It was my biggest disappointment with the aim was that it was such a proprietary device. There was no way a modder was going to get it to work with a PC. And I was like, oh, come on, because it's such a good controller.
But could a controller like that, that's the thing, like on a PlayStation VR platform that is quite closed, right? It works, but would it work on PC in that sense? As you said, like modding, let's say if modding wouldn't be a thing and it's official support, do you think, that's the question. I feel like the aim controller just is successful because it's a PlayStation aim controller.
Think if you could pair it with your Quest, and
as an official. Yeah, okay. But not like a third-party thing you could buy. If it was like Oculus branded or Vive branded or Index branded, then it would work, but not third-party. Because third-party, you do have guns, but you have to slide your controller in there, and that's it. But
we're forgetting Vive did release their own gun controllers.
Yeah, with a puck that you can like spin on.
With NES. They also had the how is it called again? That like old school like white with orange.
Yeah, the NES control, like the Duck Hunt kind of like style. That's true. They did, but again, if you look at it now, like it came, I think it released 2 years ago. They also had like a tennis racket, and they had also.
I remember the tennis racket. Yeah, so you had like the Duck Hunt gun, the tennis racket. Those all launched at the same time as the Vive tracker. So obviously, someone in the R&D department had. Over at HTC/Valve was having a good old time.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. But again, that's also third party. I think it's not from HTC. And if they would have bundled it with the headset like PlayStation did in a way, or bundled it with a game, then it would have worked. Because I don't think you guys have played a game with that Duck Hunt controller that is similar to Firepoint or Firewall 0 Hour. There it is. I think I gave that all away because I had no idea what to do with it. But
so Rowdy is showing off what looks like a fly swatter.
Racket handle for the Vive tracker.
Yeah, but what game? What game can you play with that? Or
Racket NX. For the rest, I don't know what else.
Can you play Racket Ralph?
Racket Ralph.
You could try.
All right. So I'll tell you guys what I got up to. Last week we at Mike's grand spot. He saw a little game called Reiko's Fragments. So I got to go and I had to go and play that game because you know how much I like horror stuff.
Was this before or after Mike's funeral?
This was slightly before Mike's funeral, yeah.
Okay.
They might be related.
I miss him already. It's only like 3-4 days now, but it's hard,
Rip Mike. Anyway, Reiko's Fragments. So Reiko's Fragments it's a VR versus crowd game, and on the
we talked about it last week, right?
Yeah, we talked about it as it being like an awesome concept. Ran the trailer and was like, okay, that looks really tempting. So I contacted the dev. I think Nathie connected me, and thank you for that. And got a copy and went and tried it out with my audience. And I think I love the concept. The concept is great, and the environments they had in the game were fantastic. But like, it's for 15 quid or whatever the cost is for the game, which you can buy it now. You don't have to wait for it to release on the 28th. But
is it early access, by the way?
It's definitely, well, if it's not strictly branded early access, it is early access for sure.
Okay.
The issue at the moment that I would say is, you start off and you're in a house. It's a 2-floor house, and that's it. And they talk about like every playthrough being different. Yeah, you spawn in different rooms, and the ghost spawns in a different room, and you can have other players who control via web interface some scares. But the extent of those scares is really a lot lesser than I was expecting. So players who were playing with me were like, okay, they can flicker the lights, they can create a gust of wind, and there was one other. And they were all at that level of like bullshit scares. Like no one's going to scare me with that after the first light flicker or whatever. It's just not going to happen. And then the game itself wasn't running so well for me. And it's like, this is a pretty limited batch of content. And all the players who dialed in, who were helping to scare me, were like, honestly, Zim, after the second or third play, it's just not fun. And for me, it was the same thing. It was like, you just have to walk through the house, find a doll, find a little Japanese fragment, take it to a portal, and you escape. So it's nothing on the level of like a Dreadhalls from a procedural horror generation. And if they're going to take the game seriously and take it somewhere, I think they seriously need to do that. They need to make it procedural, and they need to make the stuff that other people can do much better. More like an Akron model, where let them have unique roles and either randomly assign them or let the player choose, but let them be the bad guys. Let them have some real effect on the VR player character from winning or losing.
Yeah. But the real question is, this game, has it been targeted for Halloween? Because we all know like shovelware is everywhere around these like time, or is it like, oh yeah, we definitely want to make this game better after Halloween? Because that's what I wonder. And I did watch you play it, and it felt like almost everything that the game had in store got given away in the first like 5 minutes. It was like your audience was scaring you, and it was all like so chaotic, and one scare, bam, bam. It wasn't balanced out. There was no cap on how many scares you could have in a certain amount of time. It was like all just boom, like the whole bucket of content right in your face.
Yeah, and actually I think that a little bit more ambiance would have done better to make it a scarier experience. But like straight off the bat, if you've got 6 or 7 players, I think is the max, you really, as you said, it's just this cacophony of things happening to you, and you become kind of immune to that within minutes. So if you're cycling people through on a couch at a party, that's the kind of their defense line, I imagine, that they say that like, if you've got that in mind, then it'll be all right. But I still think you're not going to come back to this game. You're going to play it once, and that really disappointed me, and that's why I wanted to report it here, because I think there's at least another year's worth of work there for them to make it something that would really make it appetizing for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like something that shouldn't have been, given out to people yet.
Well, think about it, right? You put the pin in the pincushion there, Nathie, because Halloween's coming up. It's a scary game. Perfect time to release, right?
It's kind of obvious in the way it's getting released. Like, I don't want to like put a stamp on these developers, but...
But we're going to come back to that very point a bit later on, because I can tell you, looking at Steam and a few other VR stores, there is a waterfall of horror titles.
It's always the same story. It's the same with Christmas. With Christmas, you have the same thing going on, and then sometimes with Easter, you also have like certain. So no surprise.
The 16th Snowball Fighter.
Snowball Fighter, exactly. Yeah.
That makes sense in a way, no? Like, because this is like the kind of period that, like, I kind of need these like short like experiences sometimes as well, just to like get into the mood of Halloween. Here in Belgium, and I think in Holland as well, Nathie can probably confirm that Halloween is not as big as it's been like in the US, and I think in the UK it's even bigger now as well. But it's like slowly coming up, and like like things like are happening as now we now have like a Halloween market and a Halloween parties that are going on. We still don't go trick-or-treating. We never do that. I've never seen anyone
do that. Like, if I go outside now, they're gonna be like, hey, trick-or-treat. They're gonna be like, who the heck is this dude? He's like crazy.
So I do like it that kind of like atmosphere is coming over a little bit, because it's still I like the atmosphere of Halloween. If I have to choose one of my favorite kind of holidays, then I think the Halloween would score actually quite high. So I kind of like that there's a lot of stuff available that I can choose from, and yes, a lot of shovelware, but still I'm happy.
I think if you're a smart dev, at least, you look at like the Christmas period and also the Halloween period to get some attention for your title. And it can be a scary game, but what we're talking about here is just very focused on just Halloween. And it can be much more than that, right? You can bring out a horror game, but just don't just don't show the consumers out there that you only do it because it's for Halloween.
But it would be neat
period.
to see someone like I don't know, like the Beat Saber devs who, for example, like change all the blocks for like a period and pumpkins.
Yeah, yeah.
Or something,
But they
you
do
know, like-
that. And like the thing, I'm definitely going to touch on this a bit later on as well, but like some developers do the Halloween release cycle really well.
Very well.
And I know you
Yeah.
guys are going to think of the same ones that I'm thinking, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. And the issue that I have is that if you're not around at Halloween and they patch it in and then they take it out, is there any way to access that? I think my demand to devs is keep that as some kind of optional feature, because once you've developed it, it's fun any time of year. It doesn't have to be in those couple of weeks around Halloween. There's some stuff that I'm really sad has come out of games, and I'm actually going to pose a question to a dev there a little bit later for a game just released, whether or not their fantastic DLC that came out for free that was Halloween related several years ago, is that going to be available on the Quest just in this period coming up?
The thing is, of course, there's a little bit of like a flavor of exclusivity for that specific period, of course. So you need to try it in those weeks.
Certain games, right? Poker VR, for instance, they did one where they had undead people sitting around the table. Like you clearly don't want your serious match in September to have a zombie sitting there going like, "Yo, guys, all in," you know? I mean, I'd probably be that dude, but
I do understand what you guys are talking about, but the problem with VR games is that their lifespans are quite short. So maybe you have like one time a Halloween update, and it's better to maybe keep it in there to sell that as extra content in the description on Steam or Oculus. Because I play a lot of Rocket League, for example. This game is in the air for, I think, 4 years now or even longer.
Yeah.
And they have like this Halloween update every year. They have something new, at least in that sense, and same with Christmas. But that's a game that is targeted for, you know, the long term. It's going to stay around for at least a few years. And with most VR titles, it's like they survive for a year and that's it. Yes, you could maybe use it as leverage, say like, hey, there's a Halloween update, but I don't know if that's really popping up in, let's say, the algorithm of all the stores in the VR scene. I don't think that really happens. I do need to mention one update that I really enjoyed. It's been a while, was Pixel Ripped. They had a Halloween update as well. But this was before, I think it was even getting sold. And you could just, do trick and treat stuff and super fun. You had to shoot with candy too at like the,
Nimsoni in the chat, and he makes a fair point. He says, Nathie, the lifespan is often short by design. A lot of VR games are just smaller games in general.
Well, the budgets usually reflect the lifespan. So yeah, that's true.
all right, good. Well, let's get on with some weekly news, shall we? First up, in true horror fashion, we have a little bit of news about what from last week? Cosmos. So, for those of you who did fall into the deathly trap of Cosmos, apparently they've patched it.
What patched?
Again.
Yes, there's a beta patch released, 1.07, which was released on Thursday. So, if you were toying around with Cosmos, and maybe this will bring you back to the headset. Honestly, I think it won't. I love that accurate tracking right out of the box just flashed up. I'm going to have to take that scene down because that's just pure lies. Anyway, so what they claim in this patch, and I say claim for a good reason, they said for the HMD, so for the headset itself, for those of you who don't know what a head-mounted display is, improved low lighting tracking, right, with better prediction during fast movement, reduced tracker jitter with the Vive wireless adapter. And for the controllers, I love this. Both low light and high brightness tracking stability, which means what? The whole visual spectrum has been improved. Improved HMD tracking of the controllers when they are up to 10 centimeters from the headset. Now that's 5 inches. That's pretty big. That's like the astronaut's helmet that I was talking about for Quest early on. But the one thing I do like that they say in this, and I think this is to allay some fears for people who may have bought the headset and teetering on, should I return this or not? They've said, we will be continuously improving all aspects of the tracking algorithm in future updates. And no doubt their engineers will be furiously patching for at least the next couple of months until they run out of steam and give up. So one of these two futures is going to come to us. Either it's going to get to the point where it's acceptable or it's not. So we've yet to see. But
okay,
that's the Cosmos.
Still not convinced. Like, I mean, the problem is, and I said that before as well, if the headset, like, it can have a rough launch, you know, a rough launch can be forgiving. But if you buy a headset that is worth so much money and it doesn't work as it is advertised to do, just simply it doesn't work, that is a problem, because you're missing your initial launch window entirely. And people, when they load that up, they're going to return it. And they're going to say to everyone, yeah, don't buy this headset. They can fix it now, but it's too late.
Yeah. Why
That's the
release?
thing,
I
like,
just
it's
don't
too late.
understand. Like, why did they release? Why didn't they just wait? If it wasn't good enough, I get it.
Maybe they felt the urge of doing it right now, but
Holiday season, perhaps.
I don't know, like,
You know, because October, late October, if I remember correctly, when I was a kid, you know, that's keen shopping season for some. You know, particularly in Western markets. So maybe it just made sense for them that way. But yeah, it's a bit of a hard one. So anyway, I wanted to mention it for anyone who might just have picked up a Cosmos. It is something to keep an eye on. I think our hopes are pretty low, but that's where it is. Okay. Now let's move into another little bit of a mess, at least a bit of confusion, in relation to Borderlands 2 PC VR launch. So I'll mention a couple of things here. Well, we run a little bit of a trailer. So for those of you who don't know, Borderlands looks kind of like me, cell shaded and all that.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
I think the first thing that was a complete shock to me was the launch price of $50 or £40 here in the UK. Is that a fair price?
How much was it on PlayStation? Was it the same?
No, I think
It was cheaper.
I think it was cheaper than that.
And
When did it come
but that
to PlayStation?
launched in, I think it was December.
2000s. Yeah.
So that would have maybe, I'm not saying that then there should be a discount and whatever.
But on PC, it's always different. And you can't just like release, I said it on Twitter as well, like, I just think that you can't release a game that is launched originally in 2012,
Wow.
launch that now for €50 with a VR update that is not, well, to say it friendly, sufficient. If you don't look at like what, for example, No Man's Sky did,
Oh, amazing.
it's just like the complete opposite.
Complete
like
opposite.
They did a DLC, a free update, to everyone who already owned the game. You could buy the game at a regular price that was consistent with the price according to the lifespan of the game, and the way that they implemented virtual reality into that game was just brilliant. And with Borderlands now, or with Borderlands 2, I have the impression that it's like a cash grab. Like, we're gonna release this game, €50, and then we'll see what happens, and we'll patch, like, you know, as it goes along.
But
it's
is
not a new game.
I mean,
Why is it priced so expensive?
What about the effort for, like, you know, PC grade texturing and all that upscale work? Now, maybe it isn't upscale work, you'll argue, because it was already on PC as a 2D game. I don't know. Is there any bump mapping that's visible in it? Do you remember, Nathie? Because you've played it on PlayStation.
It's hard because it's such an old game. So it's hard to compare in that sense. What I do know...
The chat, Onikaze is saying there was no upscale work.
Oh.
Okay.
And people also say that the price was $50 on PlayStation VR
originally.
before. But it's funny that that community is just fine with that price barely, because I never heard this whole debacle about
Games
the price.
are expensive on PlayStation. Like,
Maybe that's a thing, and they're maybe also like getting like let's say they're easy to be happy with something that is in, you know, there's a different culture in that sense.
The culture is less like Wild Wild West, and it's much more, oh, it's on the platform, thank you. You know, it's like, you released something new on the platform, thank you. I've got more to eat from, you know? It definitely feels that way.
But I mean, it was originally released on the PlayStation 3, yeah? Like, that's how old this game is, huh?
But remember Skyrim released, right? We're going to go down a rabbit hole here, but I think you can come with a high price tag, and provided your launch works well across your market, I think people will pay it. I think
They
particularly
do,
for a
otherwise
AAA.
the price wouldn't be on there. And they like Gearbox sees this as a new game in a way. It's a part,
Yeah.
but it's new.
But it's supply and
That's
demand.
why the price is on
you know?
there. And what I should also say is that back in the days in 2012, you bought the game and then you had to buy all the DLCs. I spent a lot of money on the DLCs. I think
true.
I don't know how much, but now you buy. As far as I know, this is the whole package. This is everything in there. This is, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, it's like.
I think it's some of the DLC. I know that for sure.
Some.
I don't know if it's everything. Yeah.
So, like, you need to kind of rate it on content. It's like this price is not based on the date; it's based on the content that is in there.
No, I don't think that. I don't think that the price is based on the content at all. Because if you look at the original price, there was way more content that had to be made because the story needs to be developed, all the artwork needs to be designed. All of that needs to be ported to virtual reality, but that's not going to take as much time as it is to originally develop it. What does has an impact on the price, in my opinion, is that how many copies are we going to sell, and how many copies do we need to sell for this price to be justified? So what I think is that they estimate a lower amount of copies to be sold, and in order to, tell their publisher or their funder or whatever, say like, okay, this game has made us money, it needs to be a higher price. Because I think if they would have sold twice as much copies, in their estimates, then the price would also be twice as low. But I think because they think that the price, that there's not a lot of copies that are going to be sold, they're going to increase the price in order to make up for that.
So aside from the price ramp, right? And I would agree with you in terms of recouping cost. That's very common practice for large studios. Few things, right, that we've heard. Reddit has been reporting quite fervorously on a few things. Scale issues on specific headsets, namely Cosmos, Vive Pro. Gun angle, also a problem. So it's a bit surprising, I find. Sorry, there's a third one as well. Apparently, if you use an Index, if you use a Cosmos, those controllers will appear as a Vive wand default. So that support hasn't been directly implemented. Which for me, for Gearbox to release this, in that state, knowing the market, there aren't that many big headsets. I'm really surprised.
And it's concerning too.
At that price point, you're kind of saying, hang on guys, you knew you were launching this. Did you get caught against a fixed published release date? Is that what happened?
Well, I mean, Gearbox doesn't decide when it goes out, right? Is it 2K? I think it's 2K. Like the publisher in the end is the one that just uses their whip, and then it just goes live. Like it sounds to me that they just gave us the PlayStation VR part.
But I just imagine
too many tweaks.
But the thing is, like, some of the headsets are working beautifully. I hear, aside from the price being high, I hear that Oculus Rift and Rift S is working well. I've heard of no problems there. So chat, please keep me.
No, that one worked fine. I played it for like 2 hours.
That kind of confirms the theory that I said just now, because we know now for a fact that the most amount of headsets beside the PlayStation, most amount of PC VR headsets, is Oculus Rift S at the moment.
Yeah.
And the Oculus Quest is probably going to be taking up that.
And they made the Penn and Teller game too, so they were involved with the Oculus platform already, right before Borderlands came out. Borderlands,
yeah. In terms of that point, Rowdy, Nathie tweeted something today, I think. That was a quote that said, Oculus Quest sales. And again, I don't know the source, Nathie, maybe you can talk to this more. Oculus Quest sales 180,000 units in Q3 alone.
Amazing.
Yeah. Back in the day, do you remember DK1, DK2 shipment? I remember DK2 shipment was, I think it was like 30,000 or 20,000 in a year.
Yeah, I don't know anymore.
It was pretty low. It was pretty low. So seeing those kinds of numbers is great. It's not often we actually get to see open book numbers. So I hope the source is accurate. But 180,000 in 3 months. Pretty good.
In the chat, and I think that was an important point that we kind of missed as well. I mean, we've mentioned that before, but Nashai said that it's missing co-op, which is one of the main reasons for playing Borderlands. And I kind of agree with that. That something like that is not present in the $50 PC VR version is a shame. It's just a shame, because why not?
Money.
Yeah. All right, so let's hop to our third little tidbit of weekly news. This is another game yet trying to topple Beat Saber's so far unchallenged throne. It's a game called Audio Trip, released this week. So the question I've got to ask is, so this new game is it a real good trip, man, or did it stumble into an early grave? I wonder, because looking at it, and knowing there's a few other things, we'll talk about another title later, Synth Riders, that's also releasing. These games remind me of Airtone, which I know Nathie and I have played, and make you look like a complete fool, if
That's true.
If nothing else. And I don't mind that so much. And the videos that they do, these MR videos they do for pumping up these games, I like the look of them. I think they're a fun thing to do, especially when they do a quality job of it. They really, this video is one of the better mixed reality videos I've seen. So my question there for Audio Trip is, how does it play? Nathie, you had a little bit of time with it, so.
So I got to play it for like 10 minutes at the HTC office when I tried the Cosmos.
Yeah.
And so first of all, I'm not that into like rhythm VR titles. I usually just cover them for my YouTube channel. I played loads. I played Synth Riders too and Airtone. But I don't know. It's great if you're into music. It's fun. It's a good workout. But I'm not the one to ask if I would recommend this or not, because the thing is, as you mentioned, there's Synth Riders, there's Airtone, there are more, and they all play, well, to a certain degree the same. They're all based on the same genre, and I think what it comes down to, who has the best music.
And that's
who gets the best artists and syncs them up well enough. Right now, it all seems to be very indie, but if they can get like maybe, and I know it's expensive in the music business, but have some more well-known artists, then you start to attract people to just that. But so far, as far as I know, it's all like self-crafted, or at least,
And also, I
a lot
think,
of it's self-crafted.
I think a part of it is also like what you like as well, because I do think that the mechanics in each of those games are fairly different. Yes, they're all based on rhythm, but if you have a rhythm game on a PC, it's fairly limited what you need to do. You need to press certain buttons, or like on your Guitar Hero controller, you need to press buttons. But with this, like, it's still much more active. You move around a lot. With Beat Saber, you got sabers. With how is that other one called? With the boxing gloves? How is that one called?
Box VR?
Box VR,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you have like all kinds of like different kind of mechanics. So it kind of teases a little bit to what you enjoy the most as well.
That's true. But although like Synth Riders, Airtone, and Audio Trip get really close to each other.
Really close.
With
and
gameplay.
That's really close. They actually look. I was like, when I saw a video of one, I was like, oh, it's Airtone. It's like, that's not Airtone.
The only difference is that Airtone, I think this is like, if we talk about Airtone, it's like the mother of like this genre. And it has a story to it in a way. There's like a character that joins you while you're, finishing all these songs.
I like the so it was a Japanese studio, I believe, that released Airtone, and it showed. It definitely showed. It's imbued with some like anime culture, and it's weird, but I found that was really fun when playing Airtone, and it makes you. It's a bit like playing what was that League of Legends Beat Saber track? What's that? Bollocks. Chat's gonna know this, but anyway, the one that makes you prance around like a little girl. But anyway, it was a Korean track, I think it was. But
that's a different game, Zim.
But the thing is, I definitely want to play some more Audio Trip to say if this is a great game or not. But right now, it's like the community that has been hyping it up. I know that the people who made Audio Trip have very good relationships with everyone within the community, so you can see that it pops up everywhere, and that's great. You should definitely invite all of your friends to check it out. But I'm still like, I still want to really see if it's good or not. I don't know what the reviews are reflecting at this moment. But again, for me personally, it's more about the tracks. Where can I play the best albums, and not specifically the gameplay, because in case of, as we said, those other titles, they kind of do the same, but they might not have the best tracks.
That's another thing, and like I saw that someone mentioned in the chat as well, like, you know, I think it's Audio Trip that has like music from like Deadmau5 and like Lady Gaga and like the more like popular like pop music artists.
Correct.
But at the same time, if you want your game to be live streamed, and if you want YouTubers to show your game, it might not be the best route to go for those kind of like copyrighted music, because they likely will not be featuring it on their channel because they get copyright strikes.
It's hard.
So that's something you need to keep in mind.
Yeah, and that's something that we have seen Beat Saber do before. Like Yaroslav went to Google and said, like, listen, we have a game, we have music. Yeah. How can we find a way to, you know, get the artist the money they should get, and how can we, you know, so they are looking into that. I don't know if Audio Trip is doing that, because in the end, if you just look at it in a basic way, Audio Trip, Beat Saber, etc., they're like Spotify in a way.
They are, and this is exactly it. The spine behind it that you're talking about should exist as a pipeline. And that pipeline, like, even that actually sounds like a great idea. You know, you get some execs from Spotify to create an API that allows you to open up like that whole track set and licensing and pay through, so that their click model or their view model or listen model can be bridged into VR games, because it's a very common problem. And that's the balance, what Rowdy said, right? You've got, on one side, you've got the desire for popular music, and the conflict with the legal system of being able to attribute that, you know, those plays. Because at the end of the day, if you're a dev, you would love to, I'm sure, help out indie music, you know, as well. And so those are things that won't cause strikes for people who are creating content, streaming it, and showing their friends it. But at the same time, if you could just very easily line the pockets of the artists who want the music, it seems like a win-win-win, right? Your game gets more popular, more people want to play it, and in the end of the day, artist gets all the money as well. So
yeah, I think so. Beat Saber is the only one that I think can pull it off right now, because if you're an artist, you can see like, wow, this game is popular. So if I release my songs there, maybe people listen to more of my albums. And like Audio Trip and Synth Riders, they're so small. They're like indie titles in that sense. Like Beat Saber became like a AAA within the VR industry. So they have the leverage, they have the numbers. Of course, like I think if they like lay some stats on the table at labels, I think they can do a lot in that sense.
I don't know. I shudder and think maybe still VR's numbers are still maybe too small. They look at them and go, go back in 10 years. Anyway, so one other thing I was just going to say is that, Rowdy, you were talking about the different styles of audio VR games. And I'm big into rhythm games, love them. I can't really get enough. And you got things like Dance Central, which actually take you into the music. There were two titles early on. Audio Shield, which is completely like fallen apart. But that was really the pioneer, and even the pioneer for mixed reality videos. It had like MR video out like a year before anyone else was doing it. And then Beats Fever, which loads of people think is like this clone of Beat Saber. It's like it was out like a year and a half before or whatever. It was pretty good, but you get these like pokey sticks that some people poke with, or some people use like the Bop the Groundhog thing with the music. Both of those are solid games. I think that Audio Shield is just a bit sad because the way it was working with like a pipe through from YouTube, and that got blocked. So the game is like, it's now like an empty husk.
Yeah. I think the best game is still the one where you can play with the pop stick.
Yeah. Oh God.
How's it called? Is it Hotel? It's based on that movie. Yeah, exactly.
Hotel Transylvania. I'm so glad I did not go that way. All right. So let's talk about something chilling. If you are someone who is really keen on either scaring your family, friends, folks, whatever, you're a content creator, you want to do that, we're gonna touch on some games that are from the past that are quality that you can trust if you want to go buy something for this lovely holiday season, which is maybe a little different from what we said is on Steam at the moment, this waterfall of new push for Halloween titles that we have. So I'm going to go through a couple of those. Before I do that, I want to get these boys thinking, and chat as well. So think about this. What was the scariest cinematic moment? I'll go for kind of original films. We'll strive away from VR for a second. What was your scariest movie moment watching a film in your life? And I'm curious about that. So think about it. Hold it for the moment.
I've had that question already multiple times. I can immediately answer.
You know
this
it
one.
immediately? I don't mind. Go on. If you want to, go on. Answer now.
Though, everyone has seen like The Grudge, right? The movie
You mean
The Grudge?
like is a Korean film?
The original Korean film,
Yeah.
or Japanese. I don't know which one it is. But what they've done I didn't like the American remake. So in the American remake, you have like a staircase that goes down, and the woman or creature, whatever, comes down the stairs with her hands like on the side, like and her neck is like breaking the entire time.
Yes.
She comes down a straight staircase. I'm much into atmospheric horror. I don't like jump scares. They don't really work. But what they've done in the original movie is that they have a corner in that stairs. So first you see her coming down the stairs from the side, and then there's this pillar, and the music like quiets down as she comes down. And there's this pillar where she like disappears from, and then like her head like pops like behind that pillar before she goes down the straight path. That is, even thinking about it gives me like shivers on my back, just because I thought that was so well done. And like if you watch that movie like in the dark, and it's so different compared to like the American remake, that's really one of the freakiest movies that I've seen. It's the original Grudge.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so we're going to hold the chat stuff for later. That's a good choice there, Rowdy. I'll give an example of mine. Mine is not a traditional horror film. That is the scariest moment I ever had. Mine was Independence Day. The original Independence Day. You're thinking, what? I was 11. My dad took me to the cinema. I was in the Caribbean at the time, this dodgy little cinema that had 2 screens. I mean, 2-screen cinema is pretty small. And it was obviously pitch dark in the cinema. And it got to the point where the aliens they were showing the aliens, they're starting to hint at the aliens. I'd never seen a trailer or something. It was just, we went to see the film, right? And it got to the point where I was so scared. I pulled my legs up onto the seat because I was scared that someone was going to grab my legs. And that was mine. I was so fucking terrified. I still remember it to this day. Out of everything else, I'd say my best like horror film probably was the original Alien film. That is a fantastic sci-fi horror experience,
Yeah.
Nathie, do you want to do some thinking, or do you want me to get a
Yeah, so I am actually like, I'm watching this scene right now. I'm like, oh God, like I remember this stuff. It's so scary. It's so scary. I had to like double check if this was not my imagination, because usually if you watched something scary, you make it even worse in your mind later down the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is pretty disturbing. So I would say a scene out of A Woman in Black,
Ooh.
the first one, where, yeah, all I can say, because I don't want to spoiler like the entire story, but there is this moment where there's a guy in this haunted house, and then he's looking out of the window, and there's this graveyard, and then you see like a cross sticking out of like, the ground, and then this little, I don't know, kid is coming out of the ground and then slowly walks to the house, and that's all I can say. But it's my days. It's so scary, dude. It's so scary.
The thing is, I worked as a follow spot on the Woman in Black stage production, which is a really limited, it's like single scene when it's in theater. So follow spot means you're the dude who does the spotlight, or that follows like some of the cast. But when you're up in that part of, it was like a square, theater, right? And all the people sitting down there, and you're up in the top bit. And it's all dark, right? So you get scared as the story's going along. But like I didn't think anyone knew that. It's a kind of a not that well known title, and I actually haven't seen. So it was a film, was it?
Yeah, it was a film.
I need to see it because I haven't seen it yet.
But I do have to agree with Rowdy. Like movies that are like the Japanese horror movies are like so freaking scary. It's like that
Japanese
certain style, or Shudder. Shudder is also like one that just. Ugh. But yeah, there you have it.
I like this. I love getting the. You just see the aftermath of the fear and the grins of these fellas. Like, it's great. So chat is lighting up. It is absolutely going nuts. I'm gonna do my list, then we're gonna go to chat. So Nathie, pick a few ones out that you like in terms of the stories. I think we'll be able to cover all of them. All right. So I'm gonna run through some Halloween-appropriate chillers you mightn't know. And for, as I said, I always like to think of our creators as fellow creators as well. And it's like, what am I going to play for my audience? Well, here's a list. Now, I'm just going to blab them out in a list of, it's 35 intense and frightening games that you can play around Halloween if you really want to scare yourself or somebody else. I'm just going to do them in little chunks of 5 here. So, first 5. Alien Isolation, Monstrum, Dread Halls, Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades, the special limited time DLC.
That is serious stuff. Like, don't fool around with that. That's seriously scary. Like, I'm not gonna lie. That's a serious.
That stuff is horrible. When I went into there, like, it was like a murder grinder house. That stuff was like, oh my god. And even though it's all covered in hot dogs, which adds a little bit of comedic relief, I suppose, it was creepy. And then this is the point. This is the one I was gonna talk about earlier. Did any of you play the Thrill of the Fights Halloween DLC, where they had you box a zombie?
No.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was awesome. He was so hard to, you couldn't take him down. He kept coming at you. You kept punching him, and he was all on top of you, and it really felt like a zombie was attacking you. And I really hope, I don't know, I need to tweet the dev, but I hope that the Thrill of the Fight Halloween DLC is going to make another coming with the release on Quest. I'd love to see it. So that's the first set. Kitchen PSVR demo. Here They Lie, Thumper, Ghost Town Mine Ride and Shooting Gallery, and Until Dawn Rush of Blood.
Remember that one, Nathie?
Yeah. It's like, you know, some of these, like we're talking about the Mine Ride one, but like some games, like they overuse this like same scary thing all the time.
Yeah.
That after a while you kind of get used to it, but then if it doesn't happen for a while, you're like, okay, yeah, sure, and then it happens again. And it's some like when I watch you play, you know, the couch experience, the VR one.
Yep.
It was all like so like overwhelming with all these scares all the time that it becomes kind of funny in a way from the outside.
Hilarious.
Although the Mine Ride one has some very good scares to it.
This is good. This is good. So you guys this is perfect. You guys are reacting to like one thing out of the 5. Perfect. Okay. Here's another set of 5. So Resident Evil 7, we've talked about that before, but I'm going to include in that list the banned footage DLC 1 and 2, because those are horrific.
Which one? I don't know that.
The banned footage DLC. So there's a room escape where you're in a bed and you have to get out. That's horrible. The one where your fingers keep getting chopped off, that's another horrible one. There's some awful DLC in terms of Resident Evil. There's even one that's like old school Resident Evil where you're just trying to escape the I forget what they're called, but the zombies or the evil black creatures, I forget what they're called, in Resident Evil, and you're trying to make it to kind of sunrise. So it's kind of like a Five Nights at Freddy's model, but those are both worth doing. Narcosis, which is more of an underwater one, great story by the way if you play it through. From Other Suns, I won't explain that. Raw Data and Doom VFR. Again.
Oh, that screaming From Other Suns will never go out of my head, Sim.
It is the scared From Other Suns. If you had asked me a VR game that scared me the most, I've never thrown a controller and leapt into the air ever, except for that one time in From Other Suns. So anyway, that's enough. This next set is interesting. Attack of the Bugs, Wilson's Heart, In Death, Dead Effect 2 VR, and Subnautica. These are also going forward in time at the same time.
Attack of the Bugs?
Attack of the Bugs is horrible.
Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you don't like bugs, that is awful.
Could you say that the alien in Alien Isolation is also kind of like a big bug, in a way?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You mean the xenomorph?
Yeah. Kinda.
He's close to a big bug. All right, couple more here now. Atex Cybernetic, Exorcist Legion VR, Face Your Fears 1 and 2, which are very different games. The Forest. Oh, Face Your Fears 1 and 2. That was the parts of that list. These are fun. I remember my wife screaming her head off. Affected the Manor. It's an old school one. Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice.
Ooh.
Drop Dead. I think, Nathie, you mentioned that one earlier.
Yes.
PT, Silent Hill's playable teaser. which is now VRified. Now, it was available for a short time. It got taken down, but you can actually download that at our virtual reality. That's the virtual reality subreddit. And A. Gilling has put up a megafile download. So if you want to go,
That is horrible.
that is really naughty.
Yeah. Ooh.
And
PTs, especially in VR.
yeah, no,
You can also have it as a, as far as I know, in Steam VR, you can have it as your home screen.
oh really?
Yeah, the hallway, and then you just load your games there.
Why would anyone do that? Like,
I played in there, and I was like still scared. It was just nothing happened there, and I was just,
if
throwing
someone
around
would
with balloony
install that on
coins.
that would be one of the reasons why I would not go back into virtual reality.
Oh my
You
god.
can hang out in there.
The last one in that list was Vertigo, because of the cat.
Oh,
You'll know when you meet the cat.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay, last short list. Here we go. Five Nights at Freddy's VR, The Copper Canyon Shootout. That's not really scary. Why is that in there? The Morrigan, Red Matter, and Westworld Awakening.
Okay.
What is
okay.
the Morrigan again? What is that one?
The Morrigan.
It's an RPG, actually. It was just recently on sale. Some people might have picked it up, and that it's usually selling for about £15, I think. So about $20.
It's one of those. It's one of those hidden gems.
It's an indie. It's a hidden gem for sure. It's early access still, but it's very polished. I love it. It's one of my favorite mini RPGs. So if you don't have a huge budget and you want to pick something up that's really quality, yeah, the Morrigan is really cool. It's kind of eerie. It's not really terrifying, but it's got a real dungeon vibe to it, and it feels great. Like everything you can pick up and use as a weapon: arms, skulls, axes. Yeah.
I think the most terrifying game Rowdy ever played was the Minotaur title.
The Minotaur.
Oh,
What is
how is that one called?
Yeah, that's somewhere hidden within it.
Perseus?
Perseus?
Was that Perseus on PlayStation VR?
No idea, but you played something that was so scary that I don't know what happened. I think what is also kind of scary is the launch of Jumanji VR and the Halo Recruit one. That was also pretty terrifying, if I have to be
Still have
honest.
nightmares about that one.
Jumanji. Yeah, Nathie means it was a horrible game and really one of the worst. So that's the full list of that. We've talked about our favorite scary movies, which
This is.
just to talk about the little GIF I was running.
Yeah.
That's from Scream, which, like Independence Day, I can't believe this now, was 1996.
What?
1996. Independence Day and Scream both landed then. Which is insane.
People from my generation would say, "Oh, but that's the guy from Scary Movie, right?" That's how I was always like, Scream. What is Scream?
Scary movie.
It's from Scary
You know
Movie.
it from the piss take, exactly. All right, so Nathie, in terms of chat,
Yes.
have you picked out a couple of gems that you
Yeah,
wanted to
we have a
highlight?
few. So Zipon said, "Mine is watching The Fly when I was about 5 years old."
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, I remember that one.
Then we have Wells Sashi saying that he watched Blair Witch. Very creepy.
Yeah.
I watched that one on my own in a dark room.
But that's also one of
terrifying.
them that does atmospheric horror so well.
Yeah.
The entire movie is just scary from beginning to end.
They were the first popularized. Found footage
Yeah.
film. So
Yeah.
actually, I don't think I've ever
it was
watched Blair Witch. I need to grab my wife and maybe watch it tonight.
It was on like a student, right? Wasn't it a student that had to make a movie project?
I think that was the whole concept behind it. I don't think it was an actual student project.
So a cool story about that is that I watched a video on YouTube of people going to those locations. I love to do that, where people go back and they show this is where one scene got shot, and the house from Blair Witch was there, was in the forest for a while. It's now gone, but everything was still, present. All these little hands on the walls and all these scribbles and stuff. Imagine you go there even at day. It's super. They left everything there from the movie. It's crazy. Okay, let's move on. We have Swift, who watched the movie Darkness Falls. Never can think of the Tooth Fairy without a shudder now. Yeah. Then we have Jamie Cruz. He says the old TV show from the 70s Salem's Lot, when the kid floats up to the window and starts scratching on the window and says, "Open the window."
Salem's Lot. Jesus. Okay, that's not what I've seen.
And then we have a flippo side, Jaws. When I saw it in the cinema, I was scared to use the bathroom as I thought the shark would get me. I was very young.
That is the worst kind of horror.
I totally feel everyone. Like, I remember David coming home and he watched it, and he was like, he was on the bike and he said, like, yeah, maybe he's in the forest somewhere, and like you get the feeling that this monster or whatever it is somewhere, right? Yeah, that's the worst part about watching the horror movie and then surviving the upcoming weeks after, right?
If I can make a personal recommendation, you should all go watch the movie Black Sheep.
Oh, Black Sheep. Yeah, okay, that's just look that one up. No,
Scots like the sheep.
Oh yeah, and then we have two more. Poonanners says Event Horizon and The Ring traumatized a generation. And then
Event Horizon is like it's a sci-fi film, and it's horrible. I remember it coming out as R, and I was like, I can't watch it. I watched it 10 years later, and I was like, in certain segments, I literally had to look away. It was that bad. Oh, so
Ken Bai is saying that the Blair Witch project was a studio project. It was made for like $25K and an indie darling from Sundance.
Yeah, okay. So it was a Sundance film, not a student film.
Yeah.
So it was indie. Yeah.
There you have it. And then to finish it up, we have, I think this is the name, Jacob's Ladder. 1990 was a pretty psycho, creepy movie.
I've heard of it. I think I might have seen it, but I'm trying to remember what the plot was. Great. I'm glad everyone's sharing their favorite scary shit, because it's that time of year when, if you're looking for something new, sometimes getting a recommendation or knowing that it scared someone else and then watching it and either getting scared yourself or going like, you are such a wuss. How did that scare you? That's the brilliance of Halloween. So I hope everyone's having good fun, parties, making the special effort to do something different. And certainly this is no different for VR. No doubt there will be parties and VR chat and all those kinds of social apps. So do make an effort to connect with people if you're normally like Rowdy, hiding under a bridge and not liking people. It's the holiday season.
Yeah.
All right, let's transition this time for Undead Zim to do a little bit of what we call releases. So what titles are releasing this week amidst the entire wave of Halloween titles coming at us? There are a few
on our wallets and our soul.
There are actually a few to to calm your soul. So the first title of these is Pirates of the Asteroid Belt. Pirates of the Asteroid Belt is a sci-fi story-driven role-playing action adventure game. This is not a routine trip. You have to solve puzzles, deal with... I don't understand this bit. Deal with friendly inhabitants. What does that mean? You gotta get friendly with the locals? Like, not unfriendly. You gotta deal with friendly inhabitants. Is it just like the neighbor you didn't like? Not it? In space? And fight enemies to escape a space station captured by pirates. So, I'm rolling the trailer. This is by Garden Horse Studio. It launched on October 24th. It's £16.49 in pounds or $20 US, and it's available on PC VR platforms. Now, I've not played it, but to me, I would say if you were begging for a cheaper, accessible from other suns for non-Oculus environments, I guess you got what you wanted. But to me, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the kind of thing that I'd find myself playing, being a single-player experience and obviously kind of indie in nature. It doesn't look too bad put together, but I'm just wondering, Rowdy, you're our single-player story lad. Would you play this?
I'm checking the trailer right now. Like, I mean, it sounds interesting, but looking at the trailer, I don't know if it will keep me interested long enough.
Yeah.
Like, I like single-player driven games, but I don't like the puzzle aspect often. And it does look like that is like a very popular thing in this, a very like, you know, consistent thing in this game.
Yeah. So you like the
know.
stories, but you don't have the patience necessarily.
I don't. Yeah. I need to puzzle enough at work. Like, I'm not gonna do that in my free time.
Hey, that's a good excuse. Like, I'm already doing too much in my real life, so.
Okay, so that's Pirates of the Asteroid Belt. Again, if you have been itching for something like From Other Suns, then maybe that'll be your thing. All right, next. We talked about this briefly earlier on a section, Synth Riders. So yet another rhythm beat game. I'm going to roll their trailer too. So $15.49, $18. It's on PC VR and Quest by Cluj Interactive, landing on the 31st of October. Again, if you saw earlier both the trailers for Audio Tone and Audio Trip, you might be a bit confused because it is a kind of a similar motion. What I don't understand is why the orbs have to be spinning. Is that just to kind of feck with us? I don't know. Maybe it was to add some motion to the scene. But apparently they've got 21 songs from top synthwave and electro rock. And let me stress electro rock because that is what plays in the trailer. And I was like, okay, that's unique because that's a unique aspect. You hit colored notes that correspond with the beat. And some notes need to be hit with both. Sounds a lot like Audio Shield to me and some of the other games we've played. I've heard good reports of people playing it and enjoying it. So again, similar to what Nathie was saying, you've got these different variants of the same thing. And if you're up for just a different exercise regime, then maybe just another one to put in. $18 to get you in. That's that one. So apparently good for a workout or a chill session. I don't know what they mean by a chill session. Who chills and hits music blocks?
Also, Vivian is saying that they're doing on the release day of Synth Riders a tournament in Altspace. So.
Ooh, a tournament in Altspace. Thank you to our esports correspondent, Vivian. All right. All right. Next, and the last of the three that I selected for this week, Journey for Elysium, a PC VR game that's in black and white. Not often we have those. Go on. It's a race. Which one of you will name a black and white VR title for me? Go.
Wilson's Heart.
Yep, that's one. There's another one.
Another one.
It's based on sound.
Oh, yeah. The blind, yeah, exactly.
Oh, 1 point each. Good job, gents.
And this one is Elysium, right?
This is Journey for Elysium. Yes.
That's a Belgian game because I met the developers.
Ah, you met the devs. Were they nice?
Yeah, they're really friendly.
Okay, nice.
I was kind of hoping he was going to say no.
No, imagine.
So this is a story-driven VR game spawned over on Kickstarter, obviously to survive this long, that will immerse you in a fictional setting inspired by ancient mythology. Well, I don't get that from the trailer. The black and white certainly gripped me. I like this. And as a player, you're meant to use your wit and skills to overcome a series of increasingly elaborate challenges. I think we call those puzzles, Rowdy. To reach Elysium and obtain redemption. This reminds me of Edith Hamilton's short book on Greek mythology, just called Mythology, that I had to learn in high school. But that's a great book if you really want to, catch up on all that Greek mythology stuff. Yep, there you go. Edith Hamilton's
it's very polished.
Mythology.
Very polished.
It does look good. It looks good. It's definitely something that, again, I think we can add to the stack of things that are ready for the season. And if it's something
if you're like me and you absolutely love puzzle games, then you'll likely like this one.
Yeah. The thing is, for me, I find there's a few things that VR games do, and we keep seeing these trends. But the latest trend of like puzzle/room escape stuff seems to be permeating the last 2 years. And like you, sometimes in a VR game, I just want to, I don't know, I just kind of want to relax. So I appreciate when there's some new game design that comes at us. Now, before we continue, I'm going to talk to. Now, originally I wanted to show you the. I didn't bring the link up, unfortunately. It's a complex link, so I'm just going to talk to these. But there is a list. I'll show you on screen here as well. There's a list of Steam games. I think it's like 17 or something Steam games, all of which are releasing next week. And so I thought I'd rattle off the titles that are coming just to give them something. So we talked about Reiko's Fragments. Lavender. Doesn't sound like a horror game, does it? We've got Root Beer on Tap. I actually played that. Project Z. That's a fearful one. Monster Reapers VR. Beasts Shall Rise. Pagan Peak VR. I had a peek at that. That looked kind of good. Shizu, Innocent Curse. The Lighthouse VR Escape Room. I just told you. Escape rooms, lads.
Oh, yeah.
Dement.
Love them.
Journey for Elysium. Liz Before the Plague. I love how they just come at like pain and suffering in so many different ways, these titles. Party Pumper. That's the zombies getting lit on the dance floor. I don't think that's a zombie one. Music Killer. That one might be. And Newton's House of Forces. That sounds like science. That's for Rowdy then. All right. So that's the wave of titles. If you want to check them out, go for it. I figured that us, telling you a little bit about past games and reacting to those was maybe a better idea than dipping into X number of Steam titles we have launching that are honed around the Halloween season. So, with that, now we get to move on to our next segment, the main course. You've been waiting for this. Intestines and goop all over. It's GTA 5 VR. Nathie's going to tell us what that's all about. How is GTA 5 in VR, Nathie? That sounds like a bit of a trip itself.
Yeah, well, as you may have heard of, is that a new mod got released, I think it was last week, called the Real mod that allows you to play GTA in VR again, because this is not the first time. I think we have seen loads of mods for the last 3 years that all kind of did the same, and it is immerse you into the world of GTA. And this is the one that is the most up to date. It's very similar to the experience you would get with VR packs, although this mod does not need VR packs, so that means it's free. And it allows you to be in the world of GTA, get positional tracking, so you can go left, right, and lean forward, backwards. You could play at room scale too, but the downside of this mod is that it does not have motion controller support. So you can only play it with a gamepad or a mouse and keyboard. Although I still enjoy playing it even without the motion controllers, because you could say, yes, it's a downside, but I can tell you, I once played a GTA mod in where I could use my controllers and I could, drive with one hand and shoot with the other out of a car. It's great. It's awesome. But if you want to play the entire campaign from start to finish, you're going to run into some issues sometimes. And this mod is, a seated one. The controls are just, the controls getting used are the native ones from GTA. So technically, you can just play the entire game without any problems. So yeah, motion controller support sounds fun, but it can also be problematic. So this one is solid, it works, and it's immersive. You really feel like you're in GTA.
How did you install this mod? Where can people get it?
Yeah, so I made a video on my channel explaining how to do it. Takes like 3-4 minutes to watch, and then you know enough. And then I also linked to the Reddit page there. They covered the whole thing of, hey, how do you play it? What can you expect? What can the problems be? Things like that. And yeah, I think it takes you like 15-20 minutes max to set it all up, and then you're ready to go. And yeah, I checked it out myself. For me, performance-wise, it's just fine. GTA nowadays isn't that much of a hurdle anymore to run, I would say, for me at least. But if you have a lower specs, then it might be a little problematic. Let's say if you can't even run GTA 5 properly on a pancake monitor, then I'm not so sure if you want to try the VR one, because it can be quite intense, right? Yeah.
The thing with me was a bit like, I saw the Reddit post as well, but like as soon as I heard no motion controllers, I just immediately lost interest. And I understand that, of course, like if you want to play the full game in VR, then it makes sense indeed to get the controller support. But yeah. I think that most VR gamers, they've either already played GTA, or they want to try out to visit their favorite locations just in doing it in VR. and just drive around and get your gun out and shoot people like that. Like I think those are the things that, because I was thinking like should I try it out, but I was like for me it's more like you're a virtual camera. Then you're walking around and you're like, if anyone would integrate it with motion controls. I know that there was this Vorpax mod that was there a while ago, and I think it's still active now, that had that and actually worked fairly okay.
Yeah, it's called Grand Theft Auto VR.
Yeah, exactly.
This mod made use out of Vorpax. So Vorpax is a program like a 3D injector. You need to buy. It's not cheap.
$35, I think, was the price.
Yeah. It has always been the same price. You buy it as a license. Yeah.
I'm thinking about diving back in, like, because I think that has recently been updated as well, and maybe just like trying that one out with the motion controllers.
Yeah, so that's the funny part, that this mod right now only supports the Rift. Revive doesn't pick it up for some reason. I did try it on my index, but for some reason it doesn't want to do that. I do think we're gonna see more headsets getting supported in this mod. But what the thing is here is that when this got posted, the other guys who once made that Grand Theft Auto VR mod and also others, they were like, but wait a second, now I'm gonna update mine too. So then suddenly they all like come back from their graves, they all wake up, and then suddenly they're all starting to update it. And that's the thing that bothers me, is that I haven't really seen anyone keeping their mod up to date. It's always like, getting outdated after 6 months. And I do get it. It's all like free time you put in there.
Speaking of the mod, there's a really interesting, and I hope this is true. D1360 VR says, by the way, the mod was made by the same guy that made No One Lives Forever 2, which was a game that I used to love back in the day. Now that's going back a ways. It's probably 12 years or something. But I love to see cross dev interaction, like that actually there are developers on main titles who are also just modding other people's games. Like I don't get to see that often. But if someone says to me, the person behind coding this game that you loved actually did this mod, I would definitely pipe in. Actually, you guys probably don't know this, but I ran across Marcus Persson, Notch, the guy behind Minecraft, before Minecraft became popular, because of his Left 4K Dead little indie project, which was Left 4 Dead in a 4K file. So 4 kilobits of information. It was one of those projects that what do you call them? Like an indie jam type thing. But I think it might have not had a specific release window. It was just a project you had to stay within a 4 kilobyte container, and that was pretty good. So again, another quickie. I'm sure you can still find that on the web somewhere if you were interested in trying out Left 4K Dead. But this seems like a bit of a blast. I played Far Cry back in the day with Vorpax, and actually it was a pretty good experience. It was Far Cry 3. But I think when people ask me about injectors, it's just a very different cup of tea. So
I feel like nowadays I feel like injectors are less welcome.
Yeah.
And when I started, I bought it like years and years ago. So I already, like, the money I put in there, I already earned that back in a way with all the experiences I had and how much fun and same right now with Call of Duty just releasing. I'm like, maybe I should try this mission in Farpax. Maybe I should just give it a try and see what it looks like. But the problem with Farpax is that people get the wrong idea of what it is, and then they buy it, and they figure out it's not the same. So with this GTA mod, for example, it's like proper VR. It's like you're in the world. Well, Farpax, as Rowdy mentioned, it's like a screen. And of course, if you have no motion controllers, it can also feel like a screen, but you're at least able to move within this world. I do feel like there's still room for Farpax, because, as Rowdy said, Farpax worked very well with the Grand Theft Auto VR mod that allowed you to use, controllers. And so my favorite game, BioShock Infinite, had the same treatment, where there is positional tracking in BioShock. You can, lean around a corner and use your gamepad or mouse and keyboard to shoot, but it is VR. But yeah, there are so many different levels of what VR is and what it means. But there you have it. It's a free mod, and if you have GTA, then you can enjoy it. I think it's awesome. It's fun, and I played a couple of missions. I did a heist, and it's like reliving the game in a total different way, like you did with Skyrim. It's like, wait, everything looks way bigger now, or things are more. So yeah, it's not for everyone, but if you're an adventurer and you are ready to get a little motion sick, then go for it, because it is intense. This is not for a regular VR player. No, this is crazy. I jumped out of a plane while sitting in a Jeep with the car. I just went out, and then it started tumbling like crazy. I was just laughing my ass off.
I have to say, I'm watching you like run down a highway or a motorway with a grenade in hand. You're just like making as much chaos as possible. I mean, honestly, it looks like fun. And for those who haven't considered it as well, like Alien Isolation, which I mentioned earlier, the Mother mod works for that. Doom originally, I think it was Doom 3.
Yeah, I think so.
BFG edition or something.
And also Quake. Quake is also one.
Quake.
There's so many. And if you played those, you kind of know that it's great. Even with a controller, it's not that bad. But yeah, for people that are used to like the real deal, but I still like to sometimes go back to, like yesterday I was playing GTA again. I was like, oh, this is what I used to experience in VR. It's almost like going back to when I started to,
Now, if only they could VRify GoldenEye on the N64, I would eat that up. But I have to make a correction here. So when I said the developer of, I misunderstood. So it's not No One Lives Forever 2. It was the VR mod for No One Lives Forever 2 has now done this. So that's great. I mean, if you've got that skill set, please keep reinvigorating old titles. There is certainly a market for it. I just wonder, the thing is, even if outright you feel like you're just, giving a freebie to the web, these mods, we've seen them in the past. Things like Counter-Strike, Team Fortress, all that kind of stuff. Very oftentimes, those modders get decent paying jobs with good development studios because you've proven yourself.
That's why they stopped modding, and that's why those mods eventually. Yeah,
bad
true.
for us, but good for them, for their resume or CV to be able to get the shoe in. So anyway, let's transition over. We've got our second large topic. Unless there's any other bits you want to say, Nathie, on GTA?
Well, the funny part is that the frequent question I got was, hey, will I be able to play GTA 5 through Oculus Link on my Quest? I'm like, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're talking, right? Like being able to use this one headset and connect it to your PC, and then using a mod to play this one game. And I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to see some freaking fantastic stuff on Quest through Link.
Well, see, given we've already been able to do. I mean, I've done 6-off Minecraft from the center of my room on the Quest. Like any other game can do that. No Man's Sky works. So Link is no different. It's just a physical cable. So if you really, if you've got nothing else and you still got a PC that can run it, your future is bright.
Yeah.
And the modders are out there waiting like wolves. Like wolves. All right. So now we move on to Rowdy. Rowdy is going to cover a very interesting topic here. It's called Dreamwalker.
Dreamwalker, yeah, you're right. So Microsoft, they unveiled a little bit earlier this week that they're working on a new system, and that system is called Dreamwalker. And I'll cite what they say. So it allows the researchers to walk around in the physical world while still being fully immersed in virtual reality. And the image that immediately popped into my head was the scene from Ready Player One, where you see all of those like kids like running down the street with their like their mask on, and you see like that big scene with like the Master Chief and all of them running. So it's not really like that yet, but it is another like first step into that direction. And what they're actually trying to do is to replace your morning walk, so the walk that they take in the morning, with something that is reactive to your physical surroundings and is ultimately more interesting. And to do this, they use the Samsung Odyssey Windows Mixed Reality headset. They use a backpack PC. It's the HP Omen. They use the Windows Mixed Reality controllers. They have two RealSense RGB depth cameras that are mounted onto the headset. And they also have a Xiaomi Mi, which is a GPS in order to track your location into the space. And then they also have like a heck ton of additional batteries because it of course needs to be mobile. So it's all like very like rough on the edges, it's very, don't, if you're looking at the video, like
looks production ready, Rowdy, to be honest. Looks production ready.
Yeah. I mean, it's a proof of concept what they're trying to do. And of course it looks very janky and very like funny in a way now, but it is an interesting part of technology, because the interesting part of this is that this is all done in real time, so you have a map that you can upload, that you have, but then they kind of overlay a certain map over that takes your beginning point and your end point and makes it ultimately at the same location. So what I think is interesting into that. So what they're doing now is just to like try to recreate your morning walk to make it something more interesting. I don't think it's more interesting at this point in time, but there is potential here. And I know that Magic Leap has also introduced something like that in their original concept. That was called Magicverse, I believe it's called, where they basically like overlay certain layers over the same kind of area. But for that, you would have to like integrate everything that is pretty much on that location there in order for that to work properly. There's of course like a next idea, but what they do here is it's kind of like a redirection that they do. So it's like a fixed path that you walk, and when you kind of like steer off the path, certain things pop up into the field of view. So there could be cones that be popping up telling you not to go onto that side. It could be a crowd of people that all of a sudden swarms to you and says like, no, you can't come here. It could be cars that park right in front of you. But you can imagine, like, with technology progressing, like other things like this will probably come to mind as well. Like I think that the idea of like having a car all of a sudden park in front of you is a nice idea already of like, preventing you from going that way. So I think that, as
realistic, Rowdy, because fucking Teslas now are driving themselves around, parking and all that. Like,
so like as all that technology gets better, I think that there's a lot of potential for this as well. And even stuff that goes beyond like, just replacing your morning walk, of course. But also I think in the exercise scene or in the gaming scene, something like this could become popular. And it is something that is interesting. What they've done in this particular concept is that they've kind of like dynamically let them the path being rendered to you. So different kind of walkways and different kind of environments that are dynamically being updated as like objects or persons walk by as well. So that's also that for that the depth sensors are being used, so that is also being detected, and so that you don't bump into someone. So it's actually a very neat piece of technology that they're trying to like work out. And I think it's actually, if you keep all of that in mind and all of the dynamic rendering and the dynamic processing and like the people that are coming by and the objects that are being detected, it's actually like a fairly neat thing to already have at such a stage.
I love the question it raises. Is real reality a necessity? And how much longer will real reality be relevant? Like if I could replace my surroundings, right? Imagine the Matrix. I'm going to thank Dark Angel in chat for having mentioned this one. Thanks, lady. Yeah. So imagine the Matrix, yeah? And you're in that scene, right? Woman in the red dress. Just turn them all into the woman in the red dress, yeah? And that's your morning walk into the lab or whatever, Rowdy. Way better. Yeah. Way better.
That's true. But it kind of like brings back to like what Facebook has been working on as well, where they're trying to like replace like the work environment. Instead of like you going to work, they highlighted that quite a bit on OC6 on the keynote as well. Instead of you going to work, having work in your virtual office with people actually working together there. And it sounds all very like futuristic maybe now, but I think we can all agree that something like that is very plausible and eventually will likely happen as well.
Yeah, it's very neat. I'm glad you shared this, because it's one of the things that, and we'll dovetail here into the next one as well. This kind of concept of different forms of reality converging. Like you definitely have AR, right? AR has been working on make things opaque, so it's more believable, right? Eliminate whatever, like allow the human to be totally occluded, and that's really AR encroaching on like VR's territory. And on the other side, projects like this. Get a dorky dude into a backpack VR set and get him walking down the corridor and let him interact with
and in a way,
the real world.
It's still a mix between the two as well, because you have, of course, the physical world that you still interact with, because there's buildings where you can't go into, or there's like they need to replace that by something else. So it's like a little bit of mix between the two. I see it. If you have a bench in front of you, then maybe in the virtual world that is not a bench, but that is like I don't know, like a car or something. So you can't go over there. Like I do think that that kind of stuff is neat. Like just to see that being developed.
So how much would it take to? How much would we have to pay you, Nathie, to get you to walk through Times Square in their current build? All the traffic and stuff, the people on the boards. Like you just have to walk a city block. We'd have to pay you. How much do you think for your personal, insurance and damages and protection and all that you'd have to?
Wait. So you're saying that all the yellow taxis on Times Square are benches that drive around, and I need to dodge those?
Exactly.
Sure.
That sounds like a real life Frogger, in a way. But yeah, I'm down. I'm down if I can, change things for science. Then I'm ready for it. In the chat, Johnny Wells is asking, "What is the Matrix?" It's the simulation you are in right now, my friend. We're all stuck in the Matrix.
I believe it. Okay, so as a spin-off from what Rowdy was mentioning, I was exploring a concept, or ran across a concept when developers invited me to partake in something that they launched last year, and actually I think has been in concept for about 2 years now. I'd never heard of it, and I was like, you know what, this would be perfect material for the podcast. So again, it brings us into yet another realm, and this is a realm that we call remote reality. So we've got augmented reality, virtual reality, Microsoft, with that little R in the circle, mixed reality, right? We've got all these different types of reality. This is one I hadn't heard of, remote reality. And so it is something that I think when I consider it coupled with virtual reality could be really nifty. So let me tell you about this. So there's a game called Isotopium Chernobyl. And this is, so Isotopium Chernobyl. So it's a website you go to. And this is a game that is a 200 meter squared space with a minified version of Chernobyl that people can, humans walk around and service. But the citizens of this miniaturized version of Chernobyl are robots. And these robots have cameras on them. And your mission as a player in the game, remotely from your home, is to control those robots online that are sitting in a building over, and I think it's actually, I don't know if it's actually in Chernobyl, I think it might be. And you control these guys, and it's multiplayer. There are other vehicles than that running around, and you're just playing this game. And I was watching footage of this online, and I thought, Jesus, that looks so fun. I'm like so up for it. And so I was like, I have to mention this thing because it looks like such a cool idea. Have you guys ever heard of something like this before?
Yeah, I have. There's actually a lot of movies that have been made about that. They always end badly, though. It's like Battle Royale. Like, you drop a lot of robots to an island, and then, no, they start with robots, and soon it will be people. And then they put cameras on there, and it becomes a live TV show.
It's so funny, Rowdy, that you say that, because immediately I was thinking of back to the story arc behind the original Unreal Tournament, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be awesome? I was like, Nathie, what if we had a service? We pop into our VR headset, right? And we pay for 2 500-pound, 10-foot mechs on a desert island somewhere. We remotely combat them, and we just fight them each other. But I can literally break your robot, and I can rip the battery pack out, and gasoline's going everywhere. Oh, yeah. There's a huge explosion, and our transmission feed cuts, and it goes, Zim's the winner. Would you not pay to play that?
It's like those arenas they have where they like battle against each other with like self-made robots. But then instead of them standing next to it with a remote, it's like, it's all from a distance. Yeah, no, I've seen something like this before where you can win all kinds of Japanese toys by controlling a claw machine from your home and then just throw money in there. And they actually send you the prize too. So you can just, be at home, but still be in Japan too at an arcade and play your games.
And I have seen that. I mean, Twitch does a number of those things, but this is something that, in terms of the real-time interactivity, is pretty nifty. And I was watching, I'm just running some real-life footage of what it looks like to play the game. You get this kind of interface, which is mostly a video screen. You look to find these like barrels. And there are, these barrels give you energy that allow you more minutes of playtime. So in that case, it's a little bit like a race game design where the more you pick up, the longer you can play for. And you can pay to get energy to play in the game or whatever. And that's how they make money. But it's basically a team of, I believe, four gentlemen, all engineers, who put this together and run this. And at this stage, the way they do it is they do it on a kind of a session basis. So I think originally when they launched, it was like open 24/7. And now it's like when they get the money for a game, they agree a schedule, people queue up, and once they got $50 worth of game time queued up, then they host the game. How long games go for, I'm not sure. And I'm really curious what's the latency behind controlling the robots.
Yeah. I just need to know one thing. Can I kill other robots?
So for anyone who's familiar with the UK TV program, I'm sure Mike would be like screaming from his lungs on the back of that. The whole BattleBot concept is something that when you see this, you immediately think like, oh my God, can I? I don't think you can pulverize other robots. What you can do, which I find really funny and social for a game where you're basically driving micro tanks, is there's this little arm on the tank that pops up and you can wave to other tanks to be like, yo, bro. And look, it's the most cool social interaction I've seen in the longest time. And so I was thinking, like, if they upgraded this and made it, instead of a fixed cam on the front, you had some kind of like 360 cam where you were given a VR headset and you could look around the tank, give you better awareness, better sense of scale as well. How cool would that be? So
that would be nice.
Just this remote reality concept, I think, can go very many places. And as Rowdy cautions, maybe society will take it into places we shouldn't go. But this is something.
We should have a VR version of this, and then in your house where we can just terrorize you and your family. So we can just like we have tasers and we can put like spikes on the ground and just drive around, and you have to catch the RCs, they hide under your couch, and then you're watching TV and they throw popcorn at you with catapults, and I don't know, maybe I'm getting too creative here, but that sounds great.
Yeah, I'm really scared that people are going to ask me to implement something like that.
But you can ask a lot of money for it. Like if you ask me, like I could terrorize you for 20 minutes in your house for $500. I mean, that's a lot of money. You just have to.
And that's how it begins.
I'm worried. I'm honestly worried. This is a great concept,
it's like Home
Nathan.
Alone in a way. Yeah.
Well, even think about it like Home Alone, right? That whole series, right? It's just like that. It's just like a series of booby traps, and you get to choose to pay to activate them or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And people in chat are saying, "I'll pay for that, Zim." Flip aside says, "Zim, get a firewall." Yeah, definitely need that. So this game again, if you missed the name of it, it's Isotopium. I think you can go to isotopium.com. So it's Isotopium Chernobyl. And there was one other thing that was kind of related to this that I thought in this concept of remote VR. Well, what about if you're in a place? Now, I used to be big into wall climbing, mountaineering, that kind of stuff. I used to instruct at a wall and teach people how to do that. And then I saw this little video on Reddit where people were lighting up and talking about potentially doing the climb in a VR headset. And I was like, yeah, I love the climb. The climb's a great thing. And they show a treadmill that is a climbing wall with motorized pitch and angles. This looks great.
Oh, it even moves like it tilts.
It tilts. It moves. And for those in audio who can't see what we're talking about here, essentially, it's a guy climbing wall divots, right? But with like a treadmill type surface, descending vertically, and then the whole machine canters outwards, and so it makes the climb even tougher for him. Think about
an
doing
Asteroid.
that, hanging off of a plane blade or whatever it is. You could totally do this.
You know, anyone who has seen one of the Final Destination movies knows what is going to happen next. That foot is going to get stuck in there, and you're going to go all the way down. I don't believe that stuff. No. You ain't getting me on there.
Yeah. Yeah, Final Destination will make you nervous around any gymnasium or any kind of machinery or equipment, yeah. But, no, I really thought that, like, the combination of these things, what if you had... We've all seen the Boston Dynamic robots, right? What if you could control a Boston Dynamic robot and go scaling the cliffs of Moher in Ireland or something? Like, you could just go, doing this stuff, and you feel like you're there, but you're actually safe, well, pseudo-safe in Rowdy's terms, in a gym, and you've got one of these machines you're strapped into with a VR headset on. There you go.
Interesting.
Not a long ways off. Not a long ways off, I'd say. So, anything else in chat? And I will ask, chat, if you have any final questions, do feed them in while we aim to wind up the show. This has been a good one.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us for the Halloween special.
Sim, you got a bit of a...
Bit of something?
Yeah.
Here. Thanks.
Also, I saw Zim make our F.Reality logo in Kingspray, I think.
Oh, you're right. I did. Yeah, it was not the best, but it was just I was like, what am I going to spray? And then it clicked in my mind. I'm like, oh, shoot. There's a challenge on it the minute. Did anyone else do it?
Yeah, I think I only saw you doing it, so.
Well, if you did, let's give you another week. You're just like, you're bored of Halloween games and getting so scared, and you cleaned up the puddle of pee on your carpet. Then go into Kingspray and spray us the F.Reality logo.
Okay.
Go for it. Give it a shot. Beat mine. You can find mine on Twitter. That's a good one. Any other questions?
After you cleaned the bucket, of course.
What's that?
After you cleaned the bucket, if you know what I mean.
There are some people in the chat that are asking who helped you with the makeup, but I keep on saying that you're not wearing any makeup, so I don't really know what they're talking about.
The lovely design work is the same lady who put together my Skyrim helmet at no notice as well. So this is a continuing trend. If you happen to be my wife, I come to you with last minute demands of, honey, can you do this thing? And she does a fantastic job. I mean, really hats off to her. She did a great job on this makeup. I gave her, I only have a half an hour slot. I've got to do all the rest of the prep. And she's like, bam, do it. And did a great job. I would say that it is a pity that Mike couldn't join us with his full body, but at least we have him in a slightly beheaded format here for today's cast. So Mike, if you are out there watching the show, we hope you've enjoyed your time vacationing on a beach. I'm sure you are, drinking mojitos and all that right now. I'll just rewind on the podcast when you can catch us and all that. So do catch us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch Live. It's always good to tune in to the cast live. You can see us, interact with us directly. We take questions and comments from chat, and you get to see Crazy Zombie Zim and other things like this, like Uni Nathie or Nathie Corn, whatever we're going to call him.
Uni Nathie.
Uni Nathie. We also have the big screen that goes in VR. That's awesome. Anytime I'm not on, I'm like, I need to catch the podcast that way because it's hard to be there when you're on it.
Wait, you want to catch your own show?
I will work it out somehow. Maybe next show I'll just be here with a quest and be like, hey lads, and just wave into myself.
I think you did that before, right?
I have done that once.
I think.
Yeah. And then, so if you want to catch us, again, it's 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday, as Mike says, in central US. So with that, any final words from chat before we close the show?
Also, leave a like.
Yeah. Leave a like or else...
Or else
I won't get enough blood back into my system to make it. And apparently people were voting earlier, Nathie, that you were to wear some special girly outfit. So if anything's going to drive me for a like, that's it.
Okay.
All right.
Well, besides that, I don't really see much going on here. Everyone has been very happy with this episode.
Oh, Eric says that apparently they fixed Borderlands 2 for the Vive finally.
Hey, excellent. Well, look at that. We just announced it. The devs got hard at working it in an hour and a half. They've managed to fix the game. So excellent. If you're a Vive owner, Borderlands 2 is now open season.
So Vive, and then with its wands, not Vive with its index controllers.
Or the Cosmos. Don't forget the poor, lonely, cobwebbed Cosmos.
Yeah, like about what Vive are we talking about nowadays? Which one is it? Which Vive? Is it the Cosmos or is it the original Vive? Yeah, I'm so confused.
At least the original and the Pro have the same controllers. At least we don't have to add that confusion to it.
You see, we mention it on the show and then it gets fixed. That's why we try to mention as much nowadays as we can, so we can get things done. So, Gearbox, thank you for watching as well. Thanks for the
Please
effort.
feed us your broken stuff. And my request to all developers, please can you, for next week, bring Mike back to life. He's been dead for 4 days now, and we'd like our host back, please.
So. Well, we need his body. Like, we have his head already. It's just we need to find the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not that much.
Nah, that's true. This
Just
is pretty much everything already. Like his little Ewok buddy is easy to find, I would say.
Gentlemen, ladies, thank you for joining us for yet another fantastic. This has got to be our most gruesome F.Reality podcast yet. Thanks again to my wife for the face job, and gentlemen, thank you for making it happen. Appreciate it. Always a fun chat, and everyone will catch you next Saturday. Ciao for now.
Bye-bye. See ya. Bye-bye.
Brains.